It's been exactly 2 weeks since I levelled and seeded my lawn, and it desperately needs a cut, so it's a good opportunity to see if the levelling has been successful and if any of the seed has actually germinated. So yes, it's been exactly 2 weeks since I spread almost 2 tonnes of sand compost mix on this lawn to start the levelling process and then overseeded it. If you didn't see that video, there's a link up here and in the description below. And since then we've had a mixture of weather, but mainly dry, bright, sunny days, which means I've been watering twice a day, once in the morning and once in the evening. But we've also had a couple of downpours as well, which has been really good for the grass. And you'll be pleased to know that I have got some germination of the seed. If you look at the patches that were really thick where the grass was never going to grow back, in the last few days I can actually see grass coming through. I was a little bit worried at first because for the first 7 to 9 days I saw absolutely nothing, but in the last maybe 5 days it's starting to come through, and in some areas it's now quite thick. So I would say that some areas are doing better than others, and there's obviously some areas where I'm going to have to go back and maybe do an extra bit of reseeding as well, just to help the whole process along. But generally everything is definitely going in the right direction. So now the new grass is getting established, it really needs a feed, and I've been holding off from feeding the grass until it's gone through that germination phase, so the feed can benefit all the grass rather than just the existing. Once I've done that, I'm going to give it a good water as well, so that fertiliser can get into the soil and really help that grass. But first of all, I also need to give it a cut, and I need to give it a cut for 2 reasons. Well, firstly, the existing grass that wasn't smothered by the sand has had a field day for the last 2 weeks because the sun has been out and I've been watering it twice a day, so that really needs a cut. And secondly, the same has happened to the weeds in my lawn. It seems like the weeds are normally kept down by me cutting the grass regularly, and because I haven't been cutting the grass, the weeds have had that opportunity to flourish for the last couple of weeks for the same reason. So now I need to start cutting again regularly to keep those under control. However, I don't really want to step on the patches of sand where the new grass is coming through. It's a little bit too early to start damaging those areas of sand. I don't mind the roller and the lawnmower going over them, but I don't really want to stand on them. So I'm going to have to cut the grass and try to avoid stepping on those patches the best I can. So I think I need to get the lawnmower out and start cutting this grass while doing a dance around the patches. It may sound strange that I'm happy to put the lawnmower over these patches but don't want to walk on them, but this is my theory. I've set the lawnmower to cut quite high today, so none of this new grass is actually going to be cut by it. It's just not long enough yet, and I think the roller travelling over it briefly shouldn't damage it. However, if I walk on these patches, I can easily scuff the new grass, which definitely would damage it, and without a substantial root system formed yet, it's still easy to move the sand around, especially by a footprint. But that does mean I have to keep an eye on where I'm walking and step over these patches or operate the mower in what feels like a side saddle manoeuvre. As soon as I start on the long runs, I can feel that the handle of my Kensington is not bouncing around all over the place, which it was before the levelling. The mower is a lot more stable on the grass, which means the sand has done its job. It might not be perfect, but it's an awful lot better than before. The controls on the Allit petrol mowers, if not on all of them, are such that once the blade is turning and the drive is engaged, they can be operated with just one hand from either side, which helps me avoid these sandy patches while I try to keep up with the mower. Even though it was a lot of work spreading a couple of tonnes of material over the lawn, I'm very pleased with the way this levelling has turned out. The one thing I should have made sure of, and would definitely give as a piece of advice, is, unlike me, make sure that you've got extra sand and material left over. I feel that although I've resolved 80 to 90% of my problems, it's the sort of process that is always ongoing. So to have spare sand available as and when required is a bit like having spare fertiliser or grass seed available in your shed, ready for when you need it. Now the worst areas are reasonably level, I've now noticed other areas which, if I had the material, I would now do some work on. Anyway, you live and learn. So the fertiliser I'm using today comes from the Grass People. That's where I got my seed from. I'll put a link to them in the description below. And this is their spring summer mix fertiliser, which is a 1206. That's 12% nitrogen and 6% potassium. So this is a high nitrogen fertiliser, which is essentially the thing that makes grass green. I've worked out at 35 grams per square metre, which is what it suggests on the packet, I need just over half of this bag for my lawn. So I'm going to measure it out, put it in my hopper, and then put it onto a low setting and keep going around my lawn randomly, basically until I've run out. When I say randomly, it's sort of random in a planned type of way. I mean, up and down long ways about 3 metres apart, and then crossways at about the same spacing. And then with the rest of the fertiliser that's left over, I just re-hit the areas that don't look so good and may appreciate a little extra. At least with fertiliser, if it goes into the border, it's not a problem like grass seed would be. However, afterwards I give my patio a good wash down, as I know that this fertiliser has a small percentage of iron in it, which is the thing that makes those brown spots on your paving if you don't clear them off in time. They're essentially rust spots. I know that from experience, and I'm sure I'm not the only one. So there you go, time for watering, and I know it's going to be warm over the next few days, so I'm going to start watering now. Essentially, if you leave it until it's dried out and everything is dead, you can water as much as you like and it's not really going to change anything. So the time to water is when you know you're going to go into a dry period. And also there's been some people that say you can't water in the evening or your grass will die. I don't necessarily believe that. If that was right, it just means that every time it rained in the evening your grass would die, and that doesn't happen. So I think it's good that it's being watered now. That fertiliser can go into the ground, and then also later on in the week when it's really, really hot and really, really dry, I've got half a chance of all this seed and all this new grass still surviving and looking fairly green. So check back up in a couple of weeks time. I'll do another review, maybe just a short one, to show you what it's looking like. And I think those patches will be completely covered up, and the rest of the lawn, I'm hoping, just looks really nice and green. It doesn't look too bad at the moment, but I think give it another couple of weeks and I think we'll definitely be back on track. So I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have, please check out the other ones on the channel and please subscribe. And go and have a look at our Patreon page. I'll put a link in the description below, somewhere where you can support us and get extra weekly content as well. So I've got about oh, blimey, absolutely covered. I've got about another hour or so of watering this grass, and then I'll be doing the same again tomorrow morning. So until next time, I'll see you then.